I'm Jenny Sappington Thompson. I was born in New Albany in 1985, and this store, I'm the daughter of the owner and granddaughter of the founder.
My name's Albert Sappington. I'm Jenny's brother. We pretty much grew up at the store. Our parents, this was pretty much both of our parents' only job. They were here, and my dad's only job, because before he bought the store from his dad, this was his dad's store. So we've kind of just always been here in this place.
How many generations owned this store?
Two. So my grandfather started at Roy Harold Sappington.
It was down the street.
It was down the street a little bit. I don't know. I can't remember what year they moved here.
It started in '56, and then they moved to this space, 102 Bankhead, and it was like a department store. So you could buy everything from socks and underwear to maybe a sport coat. I don't know. But there was no Walmart. There was no mall. So it was kind of a one-stop shop with 10 employees, 9 or 10 employees at the time.
And it was, we've got some pictures of kind of what it looked like, and it was, cubicle, cubes all the way down both sides of the walls, everything stacked high. I mean, it looked like a department store. A lot of sport coats, a lot of dress shirts, shoes, jeans. It was kind of, you come here for everything. But yeah, the store started in 1956. It officially closed down this year in 2026. It hit 70 years old, and that was kind of our parents' goal, was to get the store to 70 years. My dad, when he was still alive, he passed away in 2021. And before he passed, they said, we're gonna get the store to 70 years, and then we're gonna go do something fun and travel and kind of live life outside of the store, because my dad worked 6 days a week for his whole life. He went to Ole Miss and came home every Saturday and worked. He worked his whole life at this store. So he had plans of doing other things and traveling, which he'd have never slowed down anyway. I mean, he loved it down here. And then when he passed away in 2021, our mom kept it, which they were the only 2 employees for a long time. My dad had some different employees whenever we were kids.
Yeah.
My mom stayed home with us for a while, and he had some other employees that helped at the store, and eventually my mom kind of transitioned here full time, and it was just them. I mean, my dad and mom, Tommy Sappington, Martha Carolyn Sappington, were here every day. I think he let her off on Mondays.
Yeah, she did not work Mondays.
Yeah, and probably half days on Tuesdays. But they would ride together to work, one car, go home together, eat dinner together, come home, come right back. Same thing, repeat.
Talk about the store.
Yeah.
Go to sleep and repeat.
Yeah. So it was a unique thing. You don't see it a whole lot these days, but they just loved it. They went to market together. They went on vacations together. So they were kind of a one-of-a-kind couple, and they loved retail.
Yeah. Before he passed, he said, "We're just gonna keep the store open and just hang out with people all day." And she was like, "We're not gonna sell anything." He was like, "No, we'll just come down and eat lunch and talk to people." And she thought that was the craziest thing, but I think it sounded really cool that this was kind of a hub of socializing. And I don't know if he could have ever retired anyway, because the way he's wired, but I thought that was kind of neat that they just kind of wanted somewhere to hang out that wasn't at home.
Yeah, because whenever our dad passed, our mom kind of just poured herself into the store. I mean, that's all she knew. So she took off a couple weeks, and then kind of went right back at it. And I guess our mom passed away January 1st of this year, of 2026, and so she kind of got it to 70 year anniversary. That was, so we at that point she kind of poured herself from my dad passing until when she passed was
4.5
4.5,
years.
5 years. So that was she had a lot of pressure on her to kind of keep it going whenever he passed, because she always kind of handled the women's side and a little bit of the men's, but our dad handled
All
the men's side,
all the buying.
which at that point it was probably 60-40, 70-30, men's 70, larger, and to the women's department. And she kind of handled the women's side of the buying, he handled the men's side of the buying, and he handled all the numbers and everything else. So there was a lot. Whenever he passed, she had to kind of figure out from market by herself, the sales reps. It's kind of intimidating going to market by yourself, but she kind of ran with it and kept it going. And it was funny because she's always loved the women's side, but after my dad passed, she kind of navigated, turned into more probably 80-20 men's versus women's, because she's like, I like the men's side a lot more. But so I think once she kind of took that over, she's like, oh, this is kind of nice. It's a little bit not easier to buy, but it's a little more exclusive to buy. The brands are a little more exclusive to locations. They don't sell to everybody on the street. So she's like, I can kind of wrap my arms around a little bit better. Said the women's side's it's a lot more competition, I think, on the women's side. But she just kind of ran with it.
And after he passed, people told her, you can't do this. Like, you need to go out of business, you need to close the store, you can't run Tommy's business. And I think that really gave her a lot of motivation to keep going.
Yeah, we had a lot of reach outs on, we want to buy the business when my dad passed. And it's kind of, to her, it was like, well, I'm still here, the business is not for sale, like, I want to do this. So
I think that gave her a lot of drive. And it was interesting because New Albany is really kind of a tourist spot, with the trail, and people shopping at Van Atkins or going to get cakes at Sugary's or whatever. She was getting customers that had never heard of Tommy Sappington, and they were like, this is a great store, I love your store. And she was like, thanks, my husband and I ran it, ran it together. And they were like, who's your husband? So I think that gave her a lot of confidence, and it was really cool to see her watch her grow with this business and do all the things that she did, at a devastating time in all of our lives.
Yeah, 'cause I think she only closed probably about two weeks, I think, when my dad passed. And she was fortunate to have other good merchants downtown that would come, get her packages and put them at their store and then bring them down to her, when she finally opened up. So it's, with my dad passing, it was kind of a shock to the town. Our dad had a heart attack Saturday at 5 o'clock or 5:30, and they always parked behind the store, and then they would actually leave the store and then circle around front, because they always would tithe at the church on Saturday night in case they didn't go the next day. And it was right out front, stop sign. He had a heart attack with my mom in the car. So that was a huge, devastating, loss to, obviously to us, just so unexpected.
Yes, and I didn't even know he had passed. And then, thank goodness, my husband took my phone, because we were coming back down from Memphis. And, it's crazy how word spreads. It's like Mr. Downtown passes away, right in front of his store in the middle of downtown.
Yeah.
But it's still kind of hard to believe that that's the way it happened. And and just the outpouring of people that wrote like messages on like the store's account, your Facebook, social media page, about your dad did this for me, or your dad did that for me, or like, I didn't know my dad and asked him, and he went to high school with him, and rips out a page of his yearbook, and that's the only picture he has of his father. Like, just like little things that that did not mean anything to him meant so much to other people. And I can't afford a pair of pants. Well, just take them. Stuff like that.
Yeah, we heard a lot of that. A lot of like, I had my first job interview, your dad gave me a tie. Just things that just kind of that we never knew about. We found so much stuff in the store. he had a Rolodex of people's names and it would be like, it would be a name and something about him, like a little note. And like, for him, it's like he loved meeting, like talking to people. And he wanted you, like, I remember Jenny, I mean, she was a little shy in high school. And I remember about the maddest I've seen my dad was when she had people she knew came in the store and she ran to the back because she was shy and didn't want to talk to him. And he was upset because he's like, if they're coming in here, they don't have to. You need to speak to them.
I've been fired twice.
I never really worked here that much.
Well, I think you got employee of the month. So.
But like the Rolodex of names, it would be somebody from out of town. It would be, their name and like, what's their grandchild, new grandchild, or they were so like, I remember one of them was like a name, there was a person in Tupelo and it said like Albert's golf buddy. And it was just things that like he wanted to like make sure when you came through the door that, he knew you were important. Like you felt like you were important. You felt like he knew you. So it was really cool. Mm-hmm. It was they were just kind of a old school retail, which kind of a lot of that led to us not continuing the store. We really struggled on what to do with the store whenever our mom passed. I don't do retail. My sister lives in Memphis. She does not do retail. My dad always said, I don't want y'all doing retail. He's like, go do something else. Go do something where you can enjoy a holiday. Because times you want to enjoy family, Christmas, I mean, this is the busiest time.
It's a busy season.
There were not many Christmases where my dad did not come down here to get a present for somebody. Somebody called, a relative came into town, hey, I forgot to get a present for this person. He would come down here and get it, wrap it, and bring it to him. So, I mean, that's just he's like, y'all go do something else.
It was just part of December 25th at our house. Somebody's coming to the store to get someone out of a bind.
And like he's like, he hated when Christmas fell on like a Sunday because that's his off day. So he would work Saturday and he'd work Monday. I mean, he loved it when it was on I think Saturday was his ideal Christmas because he could work Friday, be off Saturday and off Sunday. And, he was the boss, but he never stayed at home.
No boundaries at Sappington.
So like we talked about keeping the store open and we struggled with it, but we kind of just kept going back to what he said was just, we don't want you doing retail. And to me, Sappington's had because it was originally Sappington's. That's the original name of the store, and they kind of changed to T. Sappington and Company, and but it had an experience more. It wasn't just another retail store. Mm-hmm. You had the owners in there really, doing everything they could, and for us to keep it going, it wouldn't have had the same feeling. And we, like with my mom, we would have had customers that never knew our parents. Yeah. And they'd have been like, well, that's just another clothing store. There's nothing special to it. So that was kind of what led us to and they said, when they got to 70, they wanted to close it down and I guess just hang out here apparently. So, yeah. But we're like, let's just kind of follow their wishes and do what they wanted.
And I've told this story so many times to several people here, but we were cleaning out our childhood home and we found a letter to us written probably 15, 20, no.
It was before you got married, so it's
at least 15 years ago, that said like what to do if we passed away. I don't know if they were going on a trip and they thought something might happen or what, but it said, close the store, refuse shipments, do not sell the building, rent it, and then with the house, do as you wish. But
we found that after we had decided to close the store. We laughed because we're like, thank goodness it didn't say keep that store open because we
and move into the house.
We'd have been in trouble. But that it's one of those things like we found that 6 months after we closed the doors.
But I think deep down we always knew that they did not want us to do this. No. And he always talked about the third generation curse. I was like, I can't let this store go down in flames on our watch. Mm-hmm. And it is part of, when my dad started solely running it after our grandfather retired, people were like, "Where's Roy Harold?" And then when I would work some weekends to help them when they went to market, people would say, "Where's Tommy?" And I'm like, "Well, I can help you." And they're like, "I'll just come back Monday." I'm like, okay. So they said every time I worked that people brought back all the things that they bought the day I worked. And I was like, hey, that's not fair. I'm just doing my best.
Well, they just had them, and they're like, nobody's got as much as we do invested in this place. Mm. My dad was always like, Joe Blow could come in and have one bad experience and never come back. So he's like, the only way I can, guarantee he's not going to have a bad experience is if I'm the one that greets him or my wife greets him. So I can't control, what happens if we're not here. So I'm just always going to be here. That was his easiest thing. I mean, he was here.
I mean, it was like watching a cartoon character. He's running around with a yardstick and a spray bottle and, cleaning windows or, making somebody step on the stool to measure jeans. Or one time someone stole a whole stack of polos out of one of the bins that were in the corner, and he chased them down the street with his suit coat flapping in the wind. I'm like, you could have been hurt. But he was like, they stole 10 polos. I'm going to get them back. And I'm like, just let them go.
Yeah, it was
an experience.
It was an experience. From the music to the stories. I mean, everybody was like, because there were some people that just came in and hung out here. They would come in and sit down and I think, just want to hang out and hear stories and talk. And there was a lot of that. There's a lot of socializing. And I have so many friends that would, say that was kind of their first stop when they came to New Albany. They're like,
for sure.
We go see Sappingtons. And
it was my first stop.
They're like, we can never get out of there because it's just, they're going to hang out with you for a while.
I think it's kind of important to note how, New Albany did not look like this in 1985, 1990. It was, a lot of rundown buildings, a lot of, not a ton of businesses. And, he thought with Billy Wiseman, if we're going to have businesses in downtown New Albany, it's got to look different. It's just going to become another Main Street town that's died off. Mm-hmm. So they bought buildings and restored them, and then it kind of was just a domino effect of, people getting together that care about the community and the town and wanting a nice place to live and grow up and hopefully where your children move back to, like Albert did. Mm-hmm. But the developer of Barnes Crossing in Tupelo came in, and he was trying to convince him to move the store to the mall in Tupelo. And he laid out a map, and he said, if you are in this radius, and drew a big circle on the map, I will put you out of business if you don't open in the mall. And he was like, it's kind of like them telling my mom, you can't run the store. He was kind of like challenge accepted. So that was kind of a kick in the pants to do something in New Albany that's different. And people tell me all the time, oh, you're from New Albany? This is the cutest downtown. You know that crazy man that has that cute clothing store? I'm like, that's my dad. Or I got my engagement ring at Van Atkins. Or I always have to have a Sugar Reese cake at Christmas. So it makes me so proud to be from New Albany and to have grown up here and have the parents that we had, even though, their lives were cut way too short. It's one of the best. It gives me so much comfort to have this history and, to be able to still come in the store and be able to talk about, our family, because it's not boring, that's for sure.
No, it's definitely not. It's been fun. This is, like you said, this is where I went when I was in college. When I came home,
First stop.
When I came home, I came here because I didn't go to the house. I came to the store because that's where pretty much I grew up.
I didn't have a key to the house, so I had to come here. I don't know why I didn't have one.
Nobody was at the house.
Nobody's at the house. If it's Monday through Saturday, that house is empty. People were here. They lived up here.
What is next for the store?
We've struggled. knowing what to do. We're never going to get rid of the building. We love the building. That was, now that we have the letter, that was our instructions. It said clearly, do not sell the building. So we haven't figured out exactly what we're going to do yet. We've prevented, or we've delayed renting it or anything like that because, like Jenny said, I mean, we want to come in here. You know, once we lease it, you know, if we leased it, we don't want to lease it. We didn't want to, especially right away, lease it to another clothing business, especially a men's store, because at that point, people are going to call it Sappington's, whether or not it's Sappington's, if it's sitting here, and that makes us feel like we're responsible for it, even if we have nothing, you know, to do with it. So, and we didn't really want to lease it because, I mean, some days I come in here and I'll just come in here. I'll eat lunch in here, or we love the building and we love just being able to walk through the front door because that's what we've always been able to do. So we're still tossing around ideas, hadn't really settled on anything, but fortunately haven't been to the point where we feel like we have to lease it. So we've just kind of been hanging out for the time being. There will be something done here at some point, but it won't be a clothing operation. But it'll be, and we're gonna want to do something that kind of keeps it looking like this.
Yeah.
Because we love the look of this building, all the album covers and clothing racks, and so we want it to feel like Sappington's no matter what we do with it. But we just hadn't been in a huge rush because this is so much history right here. So we've just been kind of taking it day by day.
I think we had to take a little bit of a breather after, you know, shutting down a 70-year-old business, and, you know, among grief and all the other things that come with, you know, losing both parents. So we're taking it slow and being very thoughtful in anything that we do with this piece of history in our family.
I mean, and I had so many people like walk up and be like, well, where am I gonna buy a shirt now? And it's kind of, I mean, you feel like there was like almost a feeling of like responsibility for clothing people in New Albany, because that's what my parents always did. You know, everybody was like, you can't shut it down. Don't shut it down. But like, you know, it's easy to say that, but it's hard to run a business. I mean, when our mom got sick, I mean, I ran it through December, and I mean, it's a lot. It's more than just sitting there selling clothes. It's the orders and, you know, market, paying bills. It's a lot to it, more than just, if you could just hang out in here and sell clothes, it'd be one thing, but it's just a lot to it. So fortunately, we were able to find a solution for the clothing and be able to transition the clothing side to another business in New Albany, which has been hopefully really great for that person, and allowed New Albany to kind of continue with the same lines that New Albany loved. So that worked out really well, because we want to, you know, people still be able to go get their, you know, their genteel, you know, polo or their suit, I mean, their sport coat for the gala, because I had so many people be like, where am I gonna get my sport coat this year? And I'm like, I mean, now we've got a solution.
Yeah.
It worked out really well. You know, Muddy Mallard is the one we sold the inventory and clothing operation to. We had a lot of people reach out before I approached Joni, the owner of Muddy Mallard, but we had a lot of people reach out, and I'm like, you can't run this store if you're not in the business.
Yeah, we had a lot of.
Because I mean, the number one thing about buying any business is you want the current owner to show you the ropes or stay along, show you how to go to market. Here's your sales reps for these 15 different lines. I didn't know it. My sister didn't know it. She's been to market with my mom. I've never been to market. So I was like, you have to be in the business to run this business. And, you know, just because you could buy this clothing operation and the reps would just pull out, because they're very picky on who they allow to sell their brands. So that was a big factor. So
It was interesting. I think our dad got lines that most businesses, small retail operations, wouldn't get, just because he was so dynamic, and they just really liked him. Like, we typically don't sell to, you know, stores this small, but why not?
Yeah.
You know, it was cool. And when my mom started going to market, all the men in retail in Mississippi really took her under their wing and showed her how to buy, and showed her, like, you don't count dollars, you count units, and this is how you do this and that, and I'll help you with your orders. And it was just so nice because they didn't have to do that. And they all, two especially, reached out to me while she was in the hospital, and they were just distraught, you know, and we wanted, because I would go to market and they would be like, are we going to see you in January? And I'm like, no, you will not see me in January. But, you know, it was a hard decision, but I know it's the right one.
Yeah, it was the right one. I mean, it was a very hard decision. We struggled with it. I mean, we'd have nights we'd be all sitting around like, we're going to do it, we're going to keep it open. And then Tuesday hit, be like, oh, we can't do that. We can't, nobody has the time for it. So it worked out. It worked out really well to be able to provide the same lines to New Albany, just not here. I mean, it was never going to feel like Sappington's, no matter who was in. I mean, if it was still, without them, it was not going to be Sappington's. It was going to be a clothing store, and we just didn't want that. I mean, that's not what this is. I mean, this is this was a lot more than just a clothing store. It was kind of the experience. They just, because you're going to leave laughing and, you know,
shaking
all
your
kind
head.
of stuff. I mean, just shaking your head mostly. So it was, we struggled with it, but I think we made the right decision.
And selfishly, I wanted to keep this piece of my life around, so I have somewhere to go, like into it, not just out where I'm coming to your house. Like, I want something that feels like mine, if that makes sense, that is familiar, you know. And this is, I mean, as second of a home as it gets. We grew up wearing, you know, oversized Levi's shirts and selling lemonade, and my dad would grill hamburgers and hot dogs, you know, and just give them away. And so, like, we were always here.
I've always felt a lot more sentimental about this building than our home, because I felt like I spent more time here. I mean, we slept there, but I mean, we were here all day. I mean, we'd come hang out and walk around town, and, you know, this is because that's where they were. I mean, when you counted the hours, they were here more than they were at home. So this building's always felt more like, you know, sentimental to me.
The official word for right now is we don't really know yet.
To be determined.
To be determined.
Yes, still a lot to figure out. Well, we're getting there one day.
In our limited free time, we do discuss.
We do talk about it. But it's a lot to. Is it like, you know, right now we couldn't have this interview. You know, we couldn't even have this conversation if we'd have already leased it out. The easy thing would have been to lease it because it was set up like a clothing store. You could have walked in day one and started. But then we just turned into like a landlord more than we are, you know, part of this building. Because I don't think the person we leased to wants me home and hanging out with them every day.
We're up there using the shop.
Yeah, you know, I thought about that. I'm like, you know, our dad's wood shop is upstairs, and, you know, they're down here running a business on Saturday. I'm up there running saws, and they're kind of like, Or I remember when he used to work up there and spray lacquer and stuff. I mean, the whole downstairs smelled like lacquer. I was like, they're probably not gonna like that. So I was like, let's kind of just put a halt on it until we can figure out what we're gonna do. I mean, it worked out really well with Joni and Lady Mallard. I mean, that was, she's the one that when our dad passed would come get the packages, keep them at her store, because she was where Pink Party comes.
Yeah, it's just right
here.
down the street. Yeah.
So she would come and get the packages and put them in her store. And then when my mom would be here, she'd bring them down and put them in her store for her.
And when she got sick and we were in the hospital for a month, Joni texted and said, hey, if you need any of my girls that are working, just tell me. I'll send them.
She said, I've got extra employees.
I'll send them to you to wrap. They can wrap, they can sell, they can do whatever. Just let me know and I'll send them over. I mean, just so kind.
I mean, I was the one that even, I approached her about the things. I was like, I mean, there's nobody that can, she's downtown, like it stays downtown. I wanted it downtown. But like, you know, you've got to be in the business. I mean, you have to know the business. And she always, like, her and my dad had a good relationship because she's like, I'm gonna stay in, you know, they never stepped on toes. There was never a line that they both carried when it came to the men's store. So it was, and like my dad, like if they got out of a line because it wasn't the right fit for the store, like my dad would sometimes help her get that line. So it was a very good relationship, and I was like, that just makes the most sense. It's kind of cool because She has like a Sappington section in the store. It's not Sappington, it's still her business, Muddy Mallard, but she kind of, you walk in, there's clearly a Sappington section because of some of the same displays and some of the cubbies are in there. And she actually has one of my dad's crosses that he made. He used to make crosses. He made those
During COVID, Easter.
Yeah, during COVID, Easter.
Good Friday.
He started making those wood crosses and just giving them out to people. So he would give them out. People would post them on social media, and they would reshare all of the crosses. But
people were like, "I want a cross."
Yeah,
why didn't you make me a cross?
Yeah, then it turned into him cross production for free. So
that's almost a good segue into his woodworking, because it was nothing to him to, whip up something, or someone came in with a woodworking question and oh gosh, I spilled this on my dining room table, and he was like, just bring it in and I'll fix it. And they're like, what?
Yeah, he's just always been hands on, but we didn't even, we talked about the store, he hemmed all the jeans in the store. I mean, jeans used to be, that was it. I mean, and all the jeans he pretty much bought had no hem at the bottom. They were all super long. He hemmed every pair, and he would do it while you waited. I mean, you'd come in, you get measured, you'd sit there, he'd go hem your jeans, and you leave with a hem pair of jeans. And I remember when my mom, whenever he passed, I remember MC was very, Martha Carolyn, we call her MC. She was always precious to T-Sap. That was his nickname for her. But she was very stressed out about that. She said, people are not gonna buy clothes from me because I can't hem the clothes. And luckily, she found a solution in New Albany that worked out great. Tabitha's mom, Evelyn, man, she kind of helped my mom out with the hemming, and it was great. And everybody was fine with it. Everybody's like, okay, well, y'all get them next Monday. She dropped them all off, and she'd get them the next week, and they were fine. That gave her some comfort, because she was very stressed out about that. She's like, no one's gonna buy pants for me. They can't have them hemmed.
I think people are more patient than you give them credit for, but it was almost like you got instant gratification in here, and that sets you apart, but also causes a lot of stress.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be Christmas, and he had his sewing machine out front so that he could hem them and watch the store, and he would just be hemming jeans. You'd stand on his little pedestal he's got over here that has a bunch of signatures on it, and you stand up there, he'd pin them, and he'd hem them right there. Sometimes you could leave and go eat lunch if you wanted to, but a lot of times people just sat there and he'd hem them, and he would try to. He always had the same color thread.
He put the hem back in where it matched.
That matched the original, and then he would take it upstairs to his shop. He had a belt sander.
Distress.
And just barely hit it with the belt sander to give it a little bit of distress, so it didn't look like a brand new hem.
I mean, truly an artist.
Yeah.
Jean artist and wood artist.
That was kind of a one of a kind thing. Because I remember a lot of people were like, what do you mean you're gonna hem them right now? He said, yeah, I'm going to do it right now. And they would just come back, here's your jeans, no charge. He never charged for the hemming. That was part of it, which was kind of crazy. A wild way to do it. But
well, he was like, if you're paying back then $99 for a pair of 7 jeans, he was like, you shouldn't be paying to have them altered. He was like, this is crazy. And I remember when they got 7 in Citizens, those designer jean lines at the time, I was like, y'all are insane. No one is going to pay $100 for a pair of jeans. And I was like, but I really want these jeans, so go for it. And it just took off. It's wild. So my mom gets all the credit for that, because I think she really had to work on him to kind of go in a different direction in the women's
probably because he didn't want to be hemming jeans all day. But that was kind of, he was so hands-on with that. I mean, even when you look at these cash registers right here, this one, both of these, I don't know where he got both of these, but both of them were very tarnished, very torn up. He restored both of them completely, reshined them, new glass in here, put his little T-Sap company on there, basically just refinished the entire thing to both of them.
Marble
little tops. I mean, they both work. They both work great. So he just kind of cool. But I remember him spending, these are national cash registers. That's the company's national. I mean, he spent forever restoring these things, and that's why they're sitting up here. He's so proud of his cash registers, getting them done. But that, and we talked about the Barnes Crossing were some pretty bad days. The guy was not wrong. I mean, there was a lot of businesses that went out of business during the mall, because that's where you went. You go one place, you get everything you could ever need for Christmas.
Malls were cool. They were cool.
Malls were cool. So when the mall started, business was so bad that he was like, I got to figure out. He's like, I'm not closing it. He said, I've got to figure out a way to make money when it is slow. So that's kind of when he got into his woodworking. Probably
as a second business, essentially.
I guess that was like mid 90s, early 90s. I think we were pretty young. I think maybe
They
94,
just
95.
built their house.
Oh yeah, they did just build their house right when the mall kind of opened, which was not a great timing. So he got into woodworking, and he got the idea from, they were visiting our aunt. That would have been his sister-in-law in Charleston, South Carolina. And my mom, she kind of got on this kick where she wanted to start collecting boxes, little wooden boxes. I don't know where, she probably saw one somewhere and it's like, oh, that'd be fun to collect. My dad said he kind of looked at it and was like, he said all the ones he looked at were either like kind of distressed or too expensive for what they were. And he's like, well, I can do this. He said, I took woodworking in high school. I can figure this out. So
I did not know that.
He started building wooden like boxes for like jewelry, just to have around the house, put anything in. And that's kind of, but he would do it, that was kind of his second job. So he would work at the store until 5:30, come home, eat dinner.
We'd go to bed.
Yeah, hang out with us. We pretty much ate dinner together every night. We've always done that. And like we'd go to bed, and then he would come back down here. So upstairs in the store, the second story is his wood shop in the front half, and then the second half is all the wood and some storage up there. And he would come back up here about 10 o'clock at night and stay until 2 in the morning building boxes. And then he'd come home, go to bed, and start over again. And that kind of just led to, probably sold a couple here and there to like people, and then it kind of just took off. He started doing
like the gum
tree in Tupelo, mistletoe in Jackson.
He did Southside Gallery in Oxford had a showcase with him and Jerry Allen, a local artist there.
So he started kind of doing that. It kind of took off, and his big thing was, he's like, I could just do. It was like that way he could, supplement income for the store and to keep everything going. But I think he enjoyed, he always enjoyed being hands-on on the woodworking side. So he really enjoyed it. And then he, eventually got into humidors, cigar boxes that have humidifier devices in them that store cigars. He started, because he always smokes, so he likes cigars. He always smokes cigars, and he's like, well, I'm gonna do those too. And those kind of require a different type of wood and the device that controls humidity. So he got into that, and it kind of just, I guess just doing the things local, the Gumtree and the one in Jackson, it kind of just took off and got some recognition. I mean, people in New Albany, some people, I've still had people reach out and be like, hey, I've had one person reach out a couple of weeks ago and be like, do you have one of his humidors? And I was like, yes, I've got his. He built me one, and then I have his humidor, his big one that's in the store. And they were like, okay, good. 'Cause my husband has one, and like, I was going to make him give it to you if you didn't. So like, stuff like that. I mean, but that's New Albany. I mean, New Albany is one of a kind. So then, but he started making them, and somehow it took off. I think he won Gumtree Best of Show and the Gumtree Purchase Award in 97, maybe?
I think so.
97, 98. And the ribbon's over there. It's got the date on it, but that was such a big deal for him. Like, he's like, what do you mean? Like, there's real artists here. Like, this is kind of just like what I'm trying to do to make some money. And then he got in the Craftsman Guild, Mississippi Craft. Is it Mississippi or is it?
Mississippi.
I think it's Mississippi Craftsman Guild. And then one thing that was, he's got a wall over here. It's got different things, but there was the Southern Governors Conference. I think that was '99, and he made, I think, 19 boxes for the governors across the southern states. I think our governor wanted to give out a present to all the other governors. I'm trying to think was it
Was it Fordyce?
Sounds right.
I think it might have been.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was Governor Fordyce, and so he made 19 boxes, and Governor Fordyce gave them to all the governors across the southern states, which is really cool.
It was like an assembly line up there, just like different stages, because he put so much, what is it, the finish, the lacquer, on the boxes, because I mean you could not scratch those things if you tried. I mean you can't probably now as they've aged, but
yeah, they had to sit there and cure forever.
It would take forever, and then the hardware was purchased from a certain place, and if it wasn't perfect, he got very upset. But like all the hardware had to be, just so, and it was just a very meticulous operation that I think I never realized, or I've taken for granted, his the craftsmanship. I just like, oh, my dad is good at things.
We were so young too.
Yeah, and I don't think he ever made any furniture for sale. He might have.
I don't know. I mean, I think he sold a couple of his like sofa tables maybe at the Gumtree, but like he never really commissioned. Nobody was like, hey, I want you to build me a table.
But everybody wanted a box.
Everybody wanted a box. And it's really, he's got a signed little plaque from John Grisham. John Grisham, and I wish I could remember what movie it was going to be, but one of his books was going to be a movie, and in the movie there was going to be a baseball that was going to be in a box, and it was going to be our dad's box that the baseball was in. So John Grisham purchased, I think it was 12 or 14 boxes, one for the set, and then he was going to give them out to the cast of the movie. And I don't think they ever made the movie, but he still got the boxes, and we have a little signed John Grisham thing. And then
the White House Christmas tree was a really neat one.
That one was cool.
In 1999, it was the year of the craftsman in the Blue Room, and a craftsman from all 50 states made an ornament for the tree, and he was chosen for Mississippi. And
so he built like a little box that had a hook on top of it.
And I think it's in the Smithsonian.
I think it is.
All the ornaments are archived there. I would love to go see that. But it's Christmas time, so he gets an invite for the Christmas tree.
And we have the invite frame, like letter. Here's
thank you and the invite.
Here's your invitation to come to the White House Christmas tree lighting. And he took one look at that and said,
I'm not going.
It's December. We got to sell some clothes.
And I'm like, you turned down Bill and Hillary.
Yeah, Clinton was in office, and he's got the letter from Hillary.
Like, sorry, Hillary.
Sorry, can't make that one. So
like, you have to be the only one that didn't go.
I feel like if you're gonna regret being, if you're ever gonna regret not closing, like that would be the time. Like close for the president. I mean, go to the White House, but he said nope, because it was gonna have to miss multiple days, and can't do that. I mean, because it was gonna be a weekend.
Who's gonna hem the jeans?
Who's gonna hem the jeans? But that was one of those you were just like, you should have gone to that one.
Yeah.
And we had the kind of different note. We had the Ross Bjork, the Ole Miss athletic director, at one point came in. They're having something in New Albany, and he was talking to my dad. And my dad was like, "Yeah, I went to Ole Miss. My daughter went to Ole Miss. My son went to Ole Miss." And he said, "Oh, do you ever go up to games?" But I was like, "I've never been to a game." And he was kind of looking at me like, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, I worked every Saturday."
I think he thought he was joking.
Yeah, I think he thought because he did joke a lot, but cause you could never tell if he was joking or being serious most of the time. But he was like, "I've never been to an Ole Miss game," and he was just mind blown that you can just never you go there to school and you just never at least went into the stadium. So, like a couple days later, he gets a letter from Ross Bjork's office that said, you pick the game, 50-yard line tickets and my parking pass. So you just let us know. And like he called me and was like, "Would you like to go?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think we go to that one." So
Ole Miss, Alabama.
Yeah, it was like, we were Ole Miss, Alabama. We didn't win that year. We beat them 2 years in a row and lost that year. But I know. But like we had his parking pass, had Ross Bjork on. It was so cool. And then we leave the game, sitting in traffic, and my radiator explodes in my car. And he was like, "This is why I don't close the store on Saturdays."
He just knew.
He's like, "This is it. This is a sign. Never going back."
He's like, "I would never go to another game."
But it was really cool. Like we got to do that. But it was just, that was. If it was he didn't miss Saturdays. I mean, there were no Saturdays missed at the store.
I wonder how many people he dressed at that game.
Probably a lot. I mean, because we had a lot of Tupelo customers. A lot of Oxford had every clothes you can imagine, but we had a lot of Oxford customers, and then a lot of New Albany, and it's even I think probably even more with my mom. I mean, there's so many out of town people that come through New Albany because it is like an experience. New Albany's downtown. I have tons of people that come through that are like, y'all's downtown is I mean, there's so many. I mean, it's Friday afternoon, and there you can't get a spot on the street. I mean, it's such a it's such a good downtown, and it's really, you know. And I think my dad and Billy Wiseman really worked hard on the early days. I remember
Definitely put in the work to
Yeah.
for others to
because I think
reap the benefits.
Billy was the first president of the Main Street. Billy Wiseman and my dad started the Main Street Association in New Albany, and I think Billy was the first president. And my dad used to come down on the weekend and paint light poles just by himself, and he used to get heckled. People would come through town being like, "Hey," just making fun of him. Like, "Why do you care about downtown? What are you doing?" And it was like, he's like, just him, just not like he's getting paid, but
We put a lot of work into it too. When we'd get in trouble, he'd bring us
yeah.
down here, and we dug a ditch behind one of the buildings. And I'm like, this does not seem fair.
But yeah, they spent a lot. But the woodworking was a really I wish we knew more about it too, because like we were young. I mean,
And he was so humble.
yeah,
He would never brag about anything. How many he made or how many he sold or how he has a waiting list. And it's funny now being, an adult, kind of, how I'll meet people in Memphis and they were like, I have one of your dad's boxes. Or one of my parents have one of your dad's boxes. And I'm like, what? Like, it's just neat that,
Mm-hmm.
so many people could appreciate what we just kind of thought was normal, everyday life.
Yeah, I mean, whenever we moved, me and my wife moved back from Madison, Ridgeland area, and moved to Tupelo, and I was like, I want to learn my dad was still alive, I want to learn how to make a box, because like, who knows when he'll actually teach me. So like, I remember we built one for my wife, and I've got pictures on my phone of him like holding the box, working on it, and I wrote all these instructions on this is what you do first and all that, and like, who would have known, like, I mean, it was within a year he passed away. And I've still got that box. I still haven't finished it. I still got to put hardware on it, but it is done. But that was, that's kind of the last box he ever worked on. I built my daughter one. We found a box I built when I was a kid in the wood shop, because he'd always be building boxes, and I would come with him sometimes on the weekends, and I'd be tinkering around trying to build my box. And I had a little one that about that big that I built. I found up there, and I finished it and made it for my daughter. It's in her room. But like, I mean, I spent, that's why this building's so quite sentimental to me, because like I spent so much time here. We'd spend up in that wood shop. It was funny because we would get done working in the wood shop, and then we would go through Wendy's drive-thru, because like we never really ate a whole lot of fast food. If you knew my mom, you're like, so me and my dad would get our Wendy's and throw our trash away before we got home. We'd go get our Wendy's burgers and then throw it away, on the way home at 2 a.m. or whatever time it was. But
so she wouldn't catch you.
She wouldn't catch us eating, Wendy's hamburgers. But we spent a lot of time up there, and there's no air conditioner. So in the summer, it's, he would build a lot of boxes in the summer months, and I mean, it's 110 degrees up there, and it's just hot. He's like, you can't run fans. He had one box fan with a filter in front of it. He'd run every once in a while. Most of the time, he's like, you can't run fans. You can't have dust in the air, because everything he's doing, when he sprays lacquer, and he's like, everything was hand rubbed when it came to the stain, but the lacquer, he sprayed some of the lacquer, he hand rubbed pretty much did a lot of hand rubbing on the lacquer and finish, but he's like, you can't have dust in the air, so you just be up there sweating. I mean, it was hot, but it was, it was a very unique thing. And then that's kind of where I get it from, because I mean, every time we have any kind of issue anywhere with the house or whatever, my first thought is, okay, how can I fix this? But like, sometimes I probably need to just be like, I need to pay somebody to fix this, because I don't know what I'm doing. But like, I grew up with, he fixed everything. I mean,
it blows his mind when someone can't do something, and I'm like,
yeah.
This is not normal. Like, not everybody knows how to do this, but he taught my husband how to hang light fixtures, and that's been the best thing. That's been really handy. But he's just, well, if you don't know how to do it, why don't you just figure out how to do it? Why would you pay someone?
Yeah.
Every cabinet in their house he built, every, the staircase banister, the moldings, the, wainscoting,
Just everything. I mean,
he had 2 sets of doors on the house because they always had to be finished.
Yeah, like, the only person I've ever known that had, his front doors were wooden, because he he doesn't believe in painting wood. That's you don't do that.
That's a sin.
That's a sin. So he had his front doors, and the sun faced doors, and he bought a second set of front doors so that he could have one set upstairs in the shop, and he could sand them, refinish them, make them to where the sun will blind you going down the road. They're so shiny. And then when the one on the house started fading, he'd bring those home, switch them out, and bring the other one. So there were always perfect doors on the house. Like when my dad passed, my mom was like, I can't do this. So she's like, she had somebody refinish, which she did it actually. She sanded and refinished it herself. But it was just like, it's just things that you're like,
the attention to detail
yeah,
was insane.
he built the mantle in the house. He had built, all the cabinets in the house were walnut. And I remember my mom at one point wanted to get new countertops and paint the cabinets, and he was like, I get you whatever countertops you want, but you're not painting my cabinets. So it was, he loved wood, and he loved stained. Everything stained. That was just his thing. It was, he loved the boxes and loved the humidors, but there was so much more woodworking he'd do. One of the things that I absolutely wanted from their house was their kitchen table that he built. Because like it was, he said he had to leave it upstairs in here for a month for it to finally cure, because it was so many coats of lacquer and clear coat. And it really is. It's like glass across the top, and it will blind you if that sun hits across it. But like, and everything he did, he signed. There's nothing he made he didn't sign, which is really cool, because I have the coffee table he built me and these signatures on it, who he built it for. We've got some boxes over here that have, most of them have 4MC built for, and then the year and the number.
He numbered every box. I think my 30th birthday, he made me one, and I was the final one of that year. So it's kind of cool.
It is. Like, it's almost like he left so much behind when it came to that, and so many memories. I remember when he had a beloved Z car that he loved, and after he passed away, I had somebody reach out to me and was like, look, man, I think your dad wrote something in that car for you. I don't know where it is, but he'd never mentioned it. I would have never found this. I took that whole thing apart, and inside one of the panels, he had a note written to him. And it's just things like that. It's like he, when it came to his woodworking, it was just like he spent so much time on every piece. He wanted to sign it. He wanted you to know, like, this was when it was built. This was who it was built for. It's a unique thing that he did. And he left so much behind.
All his boxes had exactly what kind of wood it was made with, and it was just, he had the best handwriting too, so it was kind of cool to see the scratchy, cursive. And he made our mom the mantle that was in our childhood home, and I ended up taking it back to Memphis because I was like, I would love to have that in my house as, a forever reminder of like his woodworking and our family. And we had someone from Memphis come down and take it off the wall, and on the back, of course, it said 1993 or 2, and it said, Roy Thomas Sappington, the date, and God bless our home. And I think it might have said like 4MC or something, but so just, I knew something would be on the back, but like it just hits you.
Yeah.
And it was his notes were almost like romantic in a way, because he knew he wouldn't be here forever, and but that piece would, like the box is still going to be here long after we're gone,
Yeah, he's got his his mom's dining room table is in here, and I never looked under it. It'd been at our house. I never looked under it, and then underneath it, it had a note, restored for Jenny and her husband, and a date. And then I guess at some point y'all brought it back, and then he re-restored it for me and had a note and had another year and said Albert and Kelly Ann and had the date. So it was like just cool things like that like, it's a piece of furniture, but like it's just so different because it's got all these notes on it. So you can never get rid of any. You got everything is just got something on it. Like,
I need to check my dining room table now. I have a dining room table from Old Waverly that was Martha Kate and Billy Wiseman's at their house, and they were downsizing. They asked my parents if they wanted it, and they're like, no, but I bet Jenny would. And the top was totally torn up, I think, and he refinished it, And people would come over and they were scared to put a drink on it, and I'm like, you're not gonna hurt this thing. There's so many layers of stuff on this. There's no way. But then I took that for granted because I did scratch it, and I was like, who is going to fix this?
Mm-hmm.
Like you just totally don't think about stuff like that until there's not that person there that knows how to do everything and can fix anything, especially wood related.
Yeah, because like when he did his shows, he didn't believe in buying a table to put them on. He would build his own sofa tables to put his boxes on, and then he'd probably sell the sofa table. If you wanted the sofa table bad enough, he'd sell that to you. But that was his thing. He's like, I'm just gonna build everything in my booth, and that way it all looks. The whole booth's gonna look nice because I've built everything in here. So we've got sofa tables and a sofa table in here that he built, and so it's cool to have so many things that I wish I could have had more stuff.
I know that some of the old pictures where he was in magazines. I'm like, man, I wish I had that box. I wonder who has that one. And just little things like that. Like it was such a hot item then that there was I was kind of like, maybe they don't get a box. Maybe she can't have a box. And he's like, Jenny. And I'm like, yeah, I can control this. Like, she can't have a box.
Do you think there is a master list of all the boxes?
I don't think so.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't know. I mean, he was.
That's a great question.
I know. I don't. I think not, mainly because he was so humble on his stuff. Like, he took pride in it, but I still don't think he ever thought it was that important. That's why I don't think he ever, I just don't, probably not. Because he in his mind was very humble on his art, like his woodworking. He was like, it's just a box.
It's just a box.
Like, he built me a mantle for my house in Jackson, or Madison, which I still wish I had. He built it for me when I bought that house, and I'm sure it says something on the back of it. I have pictures of it when he was building it. And I remember when I was leaving that house, me and my wife were moving to Tupelo, he's like, just leave it, I'll build you another one. Don't worry about it. And, everything's happened since, but I still want to try to get that mantle. But it was like, that was his way of just like, I'll build you another one, don't worry about that. That's nothing. So he was very humble about his stuff, but it was like, just beautiful woodworking. Like, it wasn't just another, thing or, trinket or piece of furniture. Like, it was important. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to know.
I know, that would be.
I haven't found one if he does. So.
Well, you said he numbered his boxes. Was it just numbered per year?
Yeah, per year.
Yeah, every year he would just start and just number them. He'd write the year and write the number. And I guess he'd just
the
keep
one
up.
you have, you said was the last one of that particular year. What number was it?
I want to say, I don't know if 30 is in my mind because that's how old I was, or if that, I think it might have been 19. It was definitely double digits.
Yeah, I don't know how many he made a year. I saw one article where it said he would make 60 a year, but I don't think he was making 60 a year. But he may have been the very early days when he was really pushing to raise money to keep the store afloat. But I think it was more 20 to 30 a year.
I was thinking 30
because it took a lot of time. The humidors took a lot of time. I think he would spend roughly 60 hours on a humidor.
He would put leather in the bottom of them, sometimes glass. I think the Bryan family, like Bryan Foods in West Point or Columbus, they wanted a box with a pig on it. And he was like, I don't do that. But I think they figured it out. They wanted like some kind of animal inlay in the wood. And he was like, I don't do animal box. Like, no, but I think he ended up doing it. And they sent like a McCarty pig as like a thank you. But it was funny, people would write him thank you notes when they purchased something from him.
And he's got some thank you notes like framed on his wall of different people, which is really cool.
I think it's really awesome and interesting that his high school woodworking class was his only background.
And this was before the YouTube days. It's not like you could just get on YouTube and figure out how to do things. Like, he just kind of figured it out, I guess. Like, how do you when I was thinking about when I made a box with him, you start thinking about the actual process of making a box, and there's a lot to it, more than just foresight. I mean, there's so many steps that I'm like, oh, I wouldn't even thought about doing it that way. So like he would make, everything's at 45 angles because you don't want to see ends of wood, and he would make it everything perfectly, and he would build the whole box, and then he would cut it open, and he would put a line on the box on the inside so that when he cut it open, he could always know how it went back together. So, because if you spun it, it wouldn't look the same. You had to keep it in the exact same spot as when you cut it, but if you cut it as a whole box, it will fit perfect back together. So he would build this whole box and then run it through his big table saw and cut it open. And then from that point on, then he would chisel out inside, because they were all like brass working locks. So he would chisel out to where the locks could go through, and then he would finish it. But he always marked a line on it to where he would know which way it fit back together, because he's like, it won't go back together if you don't have it perfect. If you don't have it the same direction it was when you cut it, it won't look the same. But I never thought about that. I was like, I was thinking you just build top and bottom, put them together, but he's like, you got to build it and cut it in half.
Is that how other box builders?
I don't know. I don't know where he came up. There had to be. He had to. I don't know how he. There was somebody, and I wish I could remember his name, that my dad learned some woodworking past high school from. Especially like the cabinet side, because my dad built cabinet doors and he learned a lot of that from. I can't remember. I wish I knew the guy's name, but I remember he learned a lot from people, or maybe just asking questions to people that did a lot of woodworking. But I don't know how but that's how he got all his boxes to, and also the grains of the wood. You want the grains to be right. If it's not the same, the grain won't match. Because when it closes, he wanted it to look like it was a one piece. And then he would do, all the boxes were mostly built out of, I think, walnut and mahogany. And then he would also, on some boxes, on some boxes he would use a veneer, a real thin layer of veneer that had maybe some exotic wood or something. It had a lot of like color to it and a lot of like design. And the process of him, because that stuff is so thin and so brittle, the process of him actually, he would glue it to the box and put about 1,000 clamps on it, and it would sit for so long, and then he would work it through to where like you couldn't tell there was anything on top of it. But it was a process. The ones that he used veneer for were the ones that took a long time, because it was such a delicate wood. And then when you sand it, if you sand too much, it goes right through it. So it was such a long process.
I would never have the patience.
I built one with him. I tried to write notes, but I was like, there's no way I'm gonna remember how to do it. Or I couldn't duplicate it.
I asked him once, like, how did you build all these kitchen cabinets? And he goes, it's just a box. And I'm like,
yes, it's just...
I know, but this is crazy that you built cabinets for our house.
Mm-hmm.
And, all this stuff. And it's just wild.
Just figured it out.
And he was doing all this after work.
Yeah.
And building a house.
Yeah, and his thing, and probably what led to it was like he loved to do it himself, but he's like, it was always about, if I can figure out how to do it myself, it's not gonna cost me anything. So he was very much on like, I'll just do it myself, and then I'm just material costs. I don't have to worry about pay anybody else to do it. I'll just do it myself.
When we moved the mantle from New Albany to Memphis to my house, the woodworking guys that are gonna install it, they were like, this is incredible. I feel like there's that respect when you're in the same trade.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, this is just unbelievable. And so my husband showed them everything else in our house that he built, and they were just blown away. And he told them, he was like, he signed everything, and they were like, oh yeah, we do that. They were like, my name's probably in 80 houses. And I was like, I guess that's the thing, but it's just interesting to see something that I think is just so normal, people ooh and ah over.